We start off by cramping our stiles together and marking out our mortise positioning for our rails and bars. I do have 5 stiles here as we have multiple doors to make on this job, and I was using the 5th as a template. Over to the mortiser. It's quite difficult to get good footage of this process due to the guard and the chip breaker. We're using the chain here for the rails, and you'll see we use the chisel for the bar work. And as I said, this is just the process of using the chisel just to do the bars. And a quick trip over to the spindle moulder just to set up the drunk saw so that we can run some ploughs to create the slip tongue to glue up the bottom rails. Just marking a common face here on the rails. And now we're just doing the ploughs. I've got a hole in the extraction hood on this. As you can see, all the dust pouring out of there. It gets a bit annoying and I really should remake it, but I've been slack. But anyway. So this tenon is wedged in the corner and very, very difficult to get clear footage of, but I'm using the top and bottom head and the bottom scribe here. And back over to the spindle moulder to do all the moulding and rabbiting of all the components. Now over to the bandsaw, we rip all of our tenons on the bandsaw. And whilst I'm there, I just cut the wedges out of the offcuts that have just come out of the ripping the tenons. So Joe's taken over from me on this part and he's doing all the glue up work on this particular pair of doors. Just using an old ice cream container there with a paintbrush to paint the glue on the tenons and rub it all around so it's got nice coverage. Looks like the sun must have come out here with a bit of a colour change. We've got skylights above us here, so we are affected often by the light there. Yeah, so I've just come in to give Joe a hand now with the glue up. We generally work on our own jobs throughout the day, but we often give each other a hand wherever we need it. So Joe's just checking the overall height of the door now, making sure that we've got it all, the top and the bottom rail set in the right position. And now he's just using his fourfold rule just to check that we've got the daylights all even in between each set of bars here. Especially very important aspect when you're making a pair of doors that has bars like this, and you've got to make sure they all line up when they're all finished. Now that all the sizing appears to be right, we just square it up, check it for square, and do the cramps up and get it wedged off. We use the big 18-inch PP Wadkin here to size our doors in the height. And Joe's just checking that the height was right here. It was a little bit big, so the difference had to come off the bottom rail. We use the jointer to size all of our doors in the width. It's the only way we've ever done it. It leaves a nice clean dressed edge when you're finished. The bulk of our sanding gets done on the stroke sander. We do actually have a double drum sander that we could have sanded this on, but they have a very bad habit of snapping bars off that we've learnt the hard way. So we tend to avoid that machine whenever we have bar work in our windows or our doors. So once we've finished on the stroke sander, we just whack it on the bench and it gets hit with the orbital sander. The stroke sander tends to leave scratches across the rails, seeing it's running cross grain rather than with the grain. So this process just gets rid of all of those scratches, and anything that just didn't quite get sanded properly gets done here. And then we arras all around the outside perimeter with a block plane, and we do all around the glass sections, and on the moulded side on the other side with the sanding cork. Being an external pair of doors, they need to be rabbeted together, so that's just what we're doing here now on the spindle moulder, just creating the rabbet for each door. Followed up by just running the glazing beads. So on to the glazing now. We actually use a guillotine to do all of our miter cuts, so this is a bit of footage of me using that. Excellent machine to do the miters and things on here. You can set a stop, which is what I've done here. I've set a stop and I cut every rail bead all at the same time. Just a bit of a close-up shot so you can see how the beads went in. And to finish the job off, you just run around with the brad gun and nail all of the beads in place. So I hope you've enjoyed this process of us building this pair of doors. If you do, please like and subscribe. And just as we're coming to the end here, you'll see the finished photo. Thanks for watching.